I got with the DAP one day. Someone, Janine and Marcy introduced me to DAP. And you sit around and you start hearing other individual disabilities with the same voice. Like, whoa, that's where, man, now you're getting organized. Instead of having one voice, you have many voices with the same message. And then, as those many voices were going to that door is open. People were like, oh, wait a minute, we got a mob here. Then they want to, they weren't understanding where we might go with our voice. Who would we speak to that may jeopardize their position? So, okay, so that's now we're organized. Mm-hmm. But see, what you have to do when you have a voice, you have to focus that voice. Okay, now, focusing the voice, you have to find out, basically, the issue, the needs. Like say, everybody, with Mikasa, the need was for individual disabilities to live independently in the community. I know in the District of Columbia, the district has the highest number of young people in the country in nursing homes. And you may think nursing home is for the seniors. No. There are a lot of young people under the age of 65 in nursing homes. And the reason why, number one, there are no accessible housing. If I got disabled and I was living on the third floor of a 2-bedroom apartment, now I'm disabled, I'm living in my own apartment because I can't get down the steps. You follow me? There's no ramp, so now I'm a prisoner. The bathrooms, you can't get to the bathroom. As far as cooking and using any type of appliances and stuff like that, no, not happening. Then the major issue is now I need attendant care service. You know what I'm saying? No, we call them activities of daily living, so I'm just going to say ADL. Help
hey,
with
Bobby,
yeah.
I hate to do this, but I've got to wrap you up because we want to hear everybody. I could listen to you talk all fucking day. But if we do this, we wouldn't have any kind of time for questions and answers. So just if you could finish whatever you're talking about.
Well, when you want to demonstrate, make sure you are you do your intel. You have all your facts together. You find out a good supporting cast. Find out who are your supporters, who oppose you, or who's with you, and who's opposing you. You try to line all the voices together. Again, and then you try to this is negotiation. You find out who the policymakers are, who can affect the change. You try to set up a meeting with that person, negotiate for change. And if negotiations break down, then you have to demonstrate. A lot of times, we do demonstrate. I've been in demonstrations, San Francisco for Laguna Honda. We got tossed around a bit. Ohio, at the White House numerous times. Department of Justice. We demonstrate. From the highest level to the smallest. We went to the White House all the way down to the corner store proprietor. Again, that's what we do. We're dedicated. It defines our existence. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you so
much. I had
more,
you
kick ass at it, and I'm sorry. It's all you, MJ.
Hi, everyone. As I've been introduced, I'm MJ Bienvenue, and I work at Gallaudet University. I was born deaf. My entire family is deaf. I grew up using American Sign Language, or ASL, my entire life. It's the language that we use at home, and it's the language I've used my whole life. And people always say that, oh, I'm sorry, I need to be pitied. And I say, no, in fact, I'm a very lucky woman. I've always had access fully to a language. I've always had access fully to communication with other people who sign, and for those reasons I've had a number of other things in my life. When I talk about the deaf community and disability movement, there's always the question of how does the disability movement and the deaf community mesh, or are they in conflict? And the point in the deaf community, or the foundation of the deaf community, is that we have our own language. We're in many ways a minority linguistic and a minority culture community, just as the people who speak Spanish in this country, people who speak Chinese in this country, and so on. We're no different than other linguistic minorities in many ways. So here I am on a disability panel, and people always say that we are disabled because it comes from their perspective. And because we have accessibility concerns, then there is the overlap there with the disability community. And that, again, is, as other people have said, that society has put up barriers. And therefore, we become members of the disability community because we lack access to a number of different things. I want to talk a little bit about things in terms of the historical perspective. The schools for the deaf, or the residential schools for the deaf, started back in 1817. And the first one was established in Connecticut, and since then there have been state schools for the deaf all over the country. Since that time in the 1800s, the majority of teachers in those schools for deaf kids were not in fact deaf themselves. And usually they did not communicate well in sign language, if they knew sign language at all. So there was the impression in the schools where deaf kids were forced to learn to speak, or supposed to learn how to speak and learn oralism. So that's part of the historical basis of the deaf community. Back in the 60s, the movement really started to take hold, and deaf culture and American Sign Language were recognized, and the movement started to take off. In 1988, we had the Deaf President Now movement at Gallaudet. There were 2 deaf people, these were the finalists. There were 2 deaf finalists and 1 hearing finalist who were up for the president's position at Gallaudet. And people said that that people were not ready at Gallaudet to have a deaf president. Finally, after 124 years, we had the opportunity to have a deaf president, and we were told that we were not ready for it. So that started something big. Students, the staff, the faculty, everybody closed down the university. I mean, people couldn't even get onto the campus. The front gate was blocked. The front gate was blocked. There was no violence. It was all an anti-violent movement, but there were chains, the front gate was chained closed, there was a march to the Capitol, and the demonstrations went on for an entire week because they had chosen this hearing woman to be the president. After a week, she finally resigned and they installed a deaf president. But at that point, it wasn't enough. We also said that you had to have at least 51% of the board who were deaf or hard of hearing. So that took a little bit of work. Yes, this was a good thing. Also, the chairperson of the board who had said that we were not ready for a deaf person had to be removed also. She was a hearing woman also. So a lot of changes started to take place. And we were on the national news and probably the international news as well. In fact, we were in the international news as well. And so that really began the movement that has taken hold so greatly today. In terms of activism in the deaf community, part of it has to do with language, and part of it has to do with the civil rights of deaf people. I don't know if anybody has ever seen this word before. Most people haven't. And one of the things that we're trying to do is get this into the dialogue. What it means is that the notion that one is superior based on their ability to hear or behave in a manner of in which one who hears. The notion that one is superior based on one's ability to hear or behave in the manner of one who hears. So this idea of autism is something that we're really trying to get into the consciousness of society. Examples of it exist everywhere. One of them is in the schools where deaf kids are told, no, you shouldn't use American Sign Language because first of all, it's not a full or good language, and second of all, it's this gestural thing you have to stop and you have to learn English. Obviously, with the research and with everything else, American Sign Language is not only a full language, but it also is the basis for cognitive development. So not being able to use your language is one facet of autism.